First, the USDA's Justice for All non-discriminatory statement, which simply states that all persons must be treated equally without regard to their race, color, national origin, sex, religious creed, disability, age, political beliefs, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity, and that our institution provides an inclusive space for all. For more information on the And Justice for All statement, please visit the USDA's website.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our cooking demonstration. Today, I'm going to be making banana oatmeal cookies. It's a healthy, very simple cookie recipe. And I'll also be talking about food safety and sharing some tips that you can use to prepare food safely at home for you and your family. So, let's talk about our recipe. This week's recipe is super easy. It's a healthy banana oatmeal cookie that uses very few ingredients and has no added sugar. I like making this recipe whenever I have old bananas that are starting to turn brown, and it can be a great weekday dessert option if you like having something sweet after dinner. It can also be a great healthy snack recipe for the whole family. So the ingredients are 2 very ripe bananas, the browner the better, and 1 cup of oats. I use quick instant oats, but pretty much any type will work. And half a teaspoon of cinnamon, half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, and half a cup of raisins as well. But I tend to call these recipes these cookies 3 ingredient cookies because the bananas, the oats, and the raisins, or whatever sweet topping you want to add in there, are really the only things you need for this recipe. And it can come together in just minutes. So the directions for this recipe, step 1 is to preheat the oven to 350 degrees. And step 2 is to peel your bananas and mash them in a bowl. You want it to reach a mashed, creamy consistency, almost like peanut butter or applesauce or something like that. This can take a couple minutes to get it to the right consistency, especially if your bananas aren't quite as ripe. This can be a great step for kids to do. It can be very cathartic too, just mashing bananas for a few minutes. If you have a potato masher or even just a big fork or something, can be a really helpful tool, but pretty much any tool or utensil you have in your kitchen will get the job done. And then from there, all we got to do is add the rest of our ingredients in. You might want to mash it a little bit more, but I think that's going to do the job. So I'm going to add my oats in. I'm going to add my raisins. I'm going to add the cinnamon. Then I'm going to add the vanilla extract. From here, it's just a matter of mixing everything together. And then putting it onto whatever baking sheet, baking tray, glassware that you're going to cook it in the oven in. So I scoop it out. I usually use like a tablespoon measure to scoop out little scoops of it, and then I'll flatten it with a fork or something afterwards. So, this is what it's going to look like before it goes in the oven. And then we just put it in the oven for about 15 minutes. Sometimes I leave mine in a little longer to get them a little crispy, but 15 minutes should be about all that it needs. And then after that, we will just remove it from the oven and let it cool before serving. So, while those are cooking, let's talk about some things that you can do at home to keep safe when preparing food. These tips are going to help you avoid getting sick from foodborne illness. And these tips aren't specific to COVID, but they are things that you should always keep in mind when you're eating and preparing food, and they're certainly extra important right now with everything going on. So there are 6 basic steps that you can take when buying and preparing and storing fruits and vegetables in order to make sure that they are going to be safe to eat. The first step is to check. So you want to check when you're shopping to be sure that the fruits and vegetables you buy are not bruised or damaged. And you also want to check that any fresh cut fruit or vegetables, things like packaged salads or pre-cut melons, are refrigerated at the store before buying them. Don't buy things that are fresh cut if they aren't refrigerated, because those things can only be in the open for up to 2 hours before they have a risk of contamination. The second step that you can do is cleaning things. So obviously we want to start by washing our hands with warm water and soap for at least 20 seconds before and after we handle fresh fruits and vegetables. We also want to clean any surfaces, any utensils that we are working with hot water and soap. And that includes cutting boards, countertops, knives, anything that we're using to prepare the food. We also want to rinse fresh fruits and vegetables under tap water and scrub any fresh fruits and vegetables that have hard skins, that have hard outer layers. And the only exception for this is for packaged fruits and vegetables that say on the label washed or ready to eat. Those things are good to go. You don't need to wash those off. They've been properly washed before they were packaged. And after you wash your produce, you want to dry it off with either a clean towel or a paper towel. And you never want to use detergent or bleach when you wash fresh produce. So the next step, number 3, is to separate things. We want to when we're shopping, we want to keep produce away from raw meats and any products with chemicals like cleaning products. So keep those things in separate areas in your cart and ask for those things to be bagged separately at checkout. The next one is to keep things separate in your fridge at home too. Try to keep meat on the lowest shelf available in the fridge so that there is nothing below it that can get contaminated if that meat happens to leak. And then lastly, prepare produce and raw meat separately when you're cooking. So don't reuse the same cutting board or the same knife without thoroughly washing them first. Tip number 4 is to cook things properly. For meats and other products like that, we want to cook them to a safe internal temperature. You can find out more information on this on fightback.org, but when in doubt, cook things to 165 degrees Fahrenheit. You want to make sure you're getting a reading using a cooking thermometer that's reading the core, the most internal part of whatever it is that you're cooking. The next tip is about chilling and refrigerating products. You want to make sure you're refrigerating every fresh fruit or vegetable that's been cut, peeled, or cooked, and you want to make sure you're getting them in the fridge within 2 hours. They shouldn't sit out for more than 2 hours, especially if they're uncovered. And the last thing you can do is to throw things away when you think they're dangerous. So cut produce that hasn't been refrigerated within 2 hours, throw that out, and also remove and throw away any bruised or damaged portions of produce while you're preparing them. So let's check out our cookies. I baked a batch earlier so that we could see the final product. And this is what we got. Again, they're pretty tasty. They're nice and sweet from both the bananas and the raisins. You're getting a serving of fruit in there. You're getting a serving of whole grains from the oatmeal. The cinnamon and vanilla add some nice flavoring to it, all without using any added sugar. There's no sugar added to this recipe at all, other than the servings of fruit that's found in here. So I love having this as a healthy dessert option when I have a sweet tooth, or to take a few of these cookies on the go with me as a snack to have throughout the day. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.